Now that we have all of the elements on the form that we want, we need to process the new ones and also maintain their state. As far as validation goes, we don't need to validate smoking, non-smoking because the user can only choose one of these and it'll always be either or. The same way with the interests, that's pretty much the user is forced to choose one of these. The only thing here is we're going to need to validate if he has checked the box or not because he cannot order tickets if he didn't accept the conditions. So that's one validation we have to do. And we also have to maintain our data because if you see here, we have Jim Smith comes, he forgets the number of tickets, chooses smoking, pop, cash, and accepts the conditions, clicks order. It says, please enter the number of tickets, but now he's back at non-smoking. This isn't filled in. This is back at the first one, and this isn't checked. That's what we still need to do. So let's first take care of the state maintenance on smoking. Let's go here into our process order tickets, and what do we need to do up at the top here? Number of tickets. We'll copy the string here because the smoking status is coming in as a string. We'll call it smoking status. And we need to fill this in. So now we have it. And now we want to save it in the session. Like this. And there's also a part down here where we blank it out afterwards. Smoking status. So that should do that. Let's see if that affected anything. So now we have, let's fill this in again. So we're back at the beginning here. So now he comes and says, Jim Smith forgets the tickets and says smoking, order tickets. We're still back at non-smoking. Why is that? Because it's not that easy. We have to also make some changes on our form as well. Down here at this line here, we need to check the appropriate one based on the session variable value. Because that's going to get a little complicated, let's also move this into a function as well. We'll call it getSmoking. We'll go down here and say function getSmoking. And now we have this here. So basically we have the same thing. Let's check. Yeah, so now we're still at the same place where we were before, but now we have our code in one spot here. So let's basically break this up into two just so that we can see that there are two choices. Like that. Okay, here's our non-smoking line and our smoking line. The problem is that we are always checking the smoking line. So what we're going to do is make a little variable here, non-smoking attribute, as an attribute of the tag. Okay, I'm going to put this up here because we'll need that text here in a minute. We'll put the comments on it so Eclipse doesn't get confused with it. Then some of our code assist doesn't work if we have some non-valid code in there. And here as well, but this is going to be the smoking attribute. Okay. And then up here, we need to get the session variable into a variable. I always do that just to make it nice and easy to look at and read. So we're getting the session variable, and the session variable is called smoking status. How do I know that? It was in here. Session variable smoking status, right? Okay. Now, we need to define right here, define the check attribute, if it's checked or not. So here we go. If smoking status equals smoking, well then we should do something. What should we do? Let's see, the non-smoking attribute is nothing since we don't want it to be checked. And the smoking attribute is, and this is the text that we've been saving here, is that. Okay. And basically the opposite for the opposite case. Non-smoking, if it's non-smoking, then this gets the checked, and that should be it. So now let's test it. So Jim comes again. Jim comes again. Here, let's do this just so we can start from the beginning. Jim comes again. Jim Smith. And he forgets his number of tickets and says that he's a smoker. Orders the tickets. It says, Jim Smith, please enter your number of tickets. And it remembers that he is someone who wants to sit in the smoking section. We don't need to validate smoking, non-smoking, so we're done with that one. Now, the multiple choice element. This one is handled a little differently. Let me show you how. We're going to do it here as well. We'll make it a section here, handle the multiple input string. Now, there is no text filter for this array that's coming in. As you remember, the user can choose 1, 2, or 3 of these, so it's going to be an array coming in, and we don't have a way to sanitize an array. So we're going to have to use the old way, and let me show you the safest way to do that, because we still need to sanitize the strings in the array, because you don't know where, actually, the information could be coming from. It could be coming from your form, or somebody might be posting this information from a totally different site. Now, of course, you should check where the data is coming from, but you can never be too safe when you're getting data from anywhere in the internet. So let's say raw interests equals, and we'll do it the old way, post interests. I call this raw because this is just the raw data coming in. It could have malicious script in it. We don't know yet. That's why we call it raw. Interests, which is what we're going to have at the end, which we know will be clean, is an array. Now we're going to build that array. If count, let's see, we need to just do a for each here. So we're going to go through raw interests. Raw interests, raw interests. So we have a raw interest at this point. And what are we going to do? We're just going to say interests. Add an item to the interest, the cleaned interests, and this function htm special chars cleans out a string just as the sanitized string does. So we're cleaning each string and building an array of interests. So now that is all we have to do, and we now have a cleaned array of interests, namely those which the user chose here. So we just need to also save it. This array interests, and this is interests. Very well. And in the same way, we want to clear it out here. It's okay if it's a string, that'll still work. So now we'll go back here and go to get interests. This is where we build our little multiple choice box. And what we need to do now is take the array of chosen interests that's in the session and use it to make sure those that are in the array are the ones that are chosen when we display the box. Sounds quite complicated. It's a little complicated, but it is doable. So let's do it here. And basically the way I'm going to start here is to put these here in an array so that we can loop through them. We can't have them there in a, let's call them choices, hard-coded like that anymore if we're going to do all of this state maintenance. So we have classic, let's say, is classic. We're making an array of key values. Jazz code maps to jazz, and pop maps to pop, and Ray. Let's do another one just so that when we have all this done, we can see actually the change. And we see how easy it is to add new ones now. Okay, so now we have a new category, a new interest. And what else do we need to do? We need to say interest equals what's in the session. And that's called interests. Right, we got that here, right there. So we're just getting it on the other side. Now, this line is going to stay the same except for this right here. It's not going to be 3. We should always display the amount. And now that we have this in an array, we can just say count. And so now it'll be 4 because there's 4. If we put another one in, it'll be 5. So that'll be automatic. And now instead of displaying all these like this, we're going to do a for each on choices. So we have a choice at this point. That's not right. This is a key value array. Here we have key value. So we're going to have a key value. So on the first loop through, we have classic and classic here. And now we just need to build that line. build the line. Now this is going to be basically this, what we had here. But this is not static anymore, it's dynamic. We'll put in the value here. There. So just as a check of what we've done so far, this should actually display the 4 choices. Let's see. And it does. Very nice. But now we have to use what's in this array here to select the ones that they already selected on the form before they sent it to the processing form, which came back here. Okay. What we need to do is check to see if the key is in this array. If it is, then we need to set attribute called selected equals selected. So find out if it is selected, this key. If in array key interests, and this means if this key, for instance, classic, is in this array, then selected attribute equals space selected equals selected. There we go. And that's all. Else it equals nothing. Blanco. So now we just need to put this in here. Right. See option value. After that, yeah, exactly. So right there. And we have our space if we need it. Selected attribute. So there we have it. That should work. Let's see. Let's go back to the beginning here. Aha! What do we have here? In array, wrong data type for second argument. 119. Okay, this, it's looking in interest, but that's not an array yet at this point. So it gives us a warning. Well, let me show you a little trick. Put an ampersand before a function, and it tells PHP to, if there are any warnings, don't tell me about them. Which makes it very nice. It's a nice trick. So that takes care of that. Now we say Jim Smith, forget the number of tickets again. Smoking, interested in jazz and reggae. Order tickets. Please enter the number of tickets. He remembered that he's smoking and remember that he's interested in jazz and reggae. Excellent. And on to payment. So payment is going to be a lot the same. Let's do that quick. Smoking, It's going to be a lot like, yeah, smoking, exactly. Here, let's make this all one big block. This goes here. This is payment, payment. This is payment, payment. We have to save it into the session. No problem. Here we go, payment, payment. Down here, also payment is blanked, so that's working well. And basically we have to go here to payment and basically do the same thing that we did here. It's going to be a little easier because we don't have to deal with the array, but basically the same thing here. So choices equals, instead of these things, we have credit. In fact, we could just copy all this here. Credit card, debit card, debit card, cash is cash. Don't need reggae anymore. So we'll keep one of those. So now we have that, and we need to go through all the choices here for each. Here for each. Choices, choices, choice. Now we have each choice here. That's not right. Either key value is what this is. So we have a key value here, and then find out if it is selected. If the key, and we just have to say equals payment. This is payment now. Yes, like that. So if key equals payment, then what do we need to do? We need to build the selected attribute. And it's going to simply be selected equals selected again. So else, just call it this way, selected attribute equals nothing. Okay. And then we basically need this here, put it up here. build line, and it's going to look like that. What do we need to put in there? First of all, we need the key and the value. So there we have it, and now we need to put in the selected attribute. Right here. Oh, we don't need that space because we have it in there. So there. See if that works. Take it all the way back. Okay, so Jim Smith comes again. Jim Smith forgets the number of tickets again. Smoking, classic and pop. He's interested in. He's going to pay in cash. Orders the tickets. Please enter the number of tickets. We remember that he's smoking. He likes classic and pop. That he's going to pay in cash. So we only have one more piece of state to maintain, but we also have to validate this. So that should be interesting. Let's do that. Go here, process order tickets. So let's do the same thing here. This is simply going to be a string again. It's going to be yes if it's set. So we'll say accepted conditions. Let's copy this. Just to be safe. Okay, so we have it here, and then this here. Accepted conditions equals accepted conditions. Fine. And same thing here. Let's copy this. Accepted conditions equals nothing. So that takes care of that side, except for the validate. We have to validate it in the processing file as well. So let's do that here. Validate accepted conditions. If accepted conditions does not equal yes, then don't let him through. We basically need this block here. So if he didn't check the checkbox, then status is failed. That's right. And what should it say? You must accept the conditions to purchase tickets online. You must accept the conditions to purchase tickets online. So that'll take care of that. Everything else is automatic. So let's go up here. Here we have this as a line as well. Still, this is going to be more complicated. So let's change it to a function again. Get accepted conditions. So there we go. And we need to send accepted conditions, the name of the variable name, function, get accepted conditions. Oops, first of all, we'll do this. Okay, and then this. And then this. Okay, so we just output this. So the form should still look the same if we did everything right there. Yes, it still has that. Okay, now we need to process this. So basically we need something like this here. Variables equals accepted conditions. Like that. And now we need to build the checked attribute here that we're going to put in here. Here, build attribute, and if accepted conditions equals yes, well then we need to have it checked. Checked attribute, checked attribute equals checked equals checked. It's just kind of like selected equals selected for the drop downs. Like that in any case, and then else. If the opposite is the case, then this is empty. Okay, now we need to put checked attribute in the tag somewhere, right here. Okay, I think that'll do it. Let's test it. So let's go all the way back. And, look what it said. Oh, isn't that great? You must accept the conditions to purchase tickets online, except that it says it under number of tickets. It shouldn't say that under number of tickets. Why is it doing that? Let's check. Because it says here number of tickets message. That should be, of course, accepted conditions message. Okay, did we save it? Yes, and. So we have to start this all over, order the tickets. There we go. Okay. So, seems to work, but let's go through one more time. Jim, let's just type in Jim. Please fill in your last name. Smith. Jim Smith. Enter the number of tickets, 12. Okay. And then here we assume he's non-smoking. Let's say he's smoking, jazz, and classic. He's going to pay in cash again, and he still doesn't check this thing, okay? It keeps coming back, saving all of his information. If we click here, take out the number of tickets, then it keeps the check here, which is nice because he already checked it. Cash is still there. These are still there. Oops. Non-smoking, smoking is still there. When we type 11, for instance, it says, thank you, Jim Smith, for your order of 11 tickets. Perfect.